In 3 minutes, we let everyone else. So let me get Diana in from Jamaica. And we're going to get Jeffrey in from Brussels here. And then good morning, Diana.
Hi, good morning. Hold on.
I just thought I'd let you in, so because you're part of our inner family now, before we get started.
Okay.
And we got Cuthbert and then Jeffrey. Can you hear us? I think you're still connecting.
Yes. Yes, we can.
No, Jeffrey. I'm trying. Jeffrey Lipman.
Okay, Jeffrey. Okay.
I think Jeffrey is still connecting here. Okay, let's Talib Rifa is also joining. Let me let him in. And Peter said he's going to be about 15 minutes late. He has a important call with Japan this morning on the Olympics. He works on the Olympics. Good morning, Talib. Good evening.
Good morning. Good evening. How are you?
Good. Good to see you.
Sorry about the morning.
No, before we get started, not a problem. I wanted to introduce you to Moody. You see her in the picture here somewhere.
Yes.
Moody
Hi,
is
Moody.
She's a very good friend of mine. I know her longer than eTurboNews is around, because we both kind of had the idea to start eTurboNews, and she's in Indonesia, in Jakarta. And yesterday we had the Honorable Minister from Indonesia as a guest, and Moody organized this, and he was a very interesting gentleman, and I think we had a good conversation yesterday, Moody, right?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
I'm sorry I missed it, Moody. I'm sorry. How's Mr. Septa doing? You know Mr. Septa?
Moody, can you hear Talib?
Sorry, could you say it again? I don't hear.
Mr. Septa.
Septa? Can you help me, Thomas? I cannot hear.
I don't know. He said, do you know Mr. Scepter in Indonesia?
Oh, Sabta Nirwander, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, he's already not in the office. I mean, he's he's not active anymore. So yeah, he's not in the office already anymore. Sorry.
I think the only one who is always in the office for the last 25 years is Moody. You know, she never changes, so that's good.
Yeah,
good to see you, Moody.
Pension,
okay.
Years
and then for everyone, just so we're going to get started in 1 minute, but we have the Honorable Minister Moses Biakati, our guest of honor, is already here. We have
Hello, Minister. Hi, Minister. Hi, Minister.
I think he's
Hello,
muted.
Talib. How are you? Long time.
Good to see you, Minister. It's been a long time. Sure.
Yeah, we have been having it tough this side. It's time for budgets. I just finished another meeting. I'm not even sure.
I know, my dear. I know. I sympathize with you.
Yes.
I was in your shoes long time ago.
Okay, we're just about to start. We have Andrew Brown joining us from WTTC. I believe you're in London, Andrew, right?
I'm indeed, yes. Hi, everyone. How are you? Hi, Talib.
Hello, Andrew. How are you? I just missed the meeting, the European meeting for WTTC.
Yes.
It was on now. Yeah, I just missed it by minutes.
Yeah,
okay, so
it was a good one today. I can give you an update later.
Yeah. I know. Michael Fretzel was there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So guys, let's get started. We're already live on eTurboNews on all the social media, so we're going to let people in here right now. And the microphone's going to be on for another minute or two till we get everyone together.
Moody, how's Indonesia doing?
Very good. Oh well. First is crisis is.
The reason I'm asking about Septa is the last time I came, I was invited by him. I came to a halal tourism conference. He was in charge of it. It was organized by the Central Bank of Indonesia.
Okay.
It was a very good meeting. Yeah.
Okay. When is that?
Yeah.
When is that? Hello?
Yes,
Yes.
we can hear you. We can hear you, Moody. Let me turn this, going to close the curtain here.
You were saying when? It's been a year at least. At least a year. At least a year, if not more. More than a year, yeah.
Back to school on Monday, but concerns in some parts have only
There was a
half the
lady
children will be
deputy
tested for
minister.
COVID. And a
What's the name of
16-year-old
her?
who video called his mum after being
The
stabbed
lady
in the
deputy
street,
minister.
saying he was going to die.
What's her name?
Do you remember the name of the lady deputy minister? I think we cannot hear her. There is a lot of background noise. Moody, can you hear Taleb?
No, I cannot. Thomas. So
There was a the lady deputy minister. The lady deputy minister. The lady deputy minister.
That's the lady, yeah?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So the minister.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so perfect. So we're like 40 seconds away, and then we can get started.
Thank you.
So I'm going to mute. I'm going to mute everybody, and if you're ready to speak, you can raise your hand or just unmute yourself. Okay, so I'm going to mute everyone now.
Much better.
Yes. Okay, so just give me like 30 more seconds. We still have a lot of people coming in here, and I'm waiting for Louis D'Amour because he wanted to go first, but he's not here yet. So hopefully, if he joins, I'm gonna let him in. Hello and good morning, everybody. My name is Jürgen Steinmetz, and I'm joining you from World Tourism Network in Honolulu this morning, together with eTurboNews, Hawaii News Online, and Livestream.travel. Today, I wouldn't say the word celebrating, but we're remembering 1 year of rebuilding.travel. It's a discussion, and I wanted to explain it to those that are not familiar with World Tourism Network yet, and maybe who are listening to us online, who we are. Before we do this, if you're currently watching us on eTurboNews or on any of our social media, Hawaii News Online, for those that are here in Honolulu, you can actually still be part of this live audience. And it's very easy to do. Just go to eTurboNews.com, go to WTN.travel. And when you scroll up, right where if you watch us, right on top of where you see the screen, there's a red button to join this event. Click on it, register, and you can be part of this live audience. Now, to explain a little bit before we introduce our guest, and we have many guests this morning, World Tourism Network, it started with a discussion a year ago exactly on March 5th at the ITB trade show in Berlin. Unfortunately, ITB never happened. It was canceled. But many of us were already in Berlin, and we had a discussion planned together with the Pacific Asia Travel Association and the African Tourism Board on how the industry should react and respond to COVID. And this is when COVID just started, when we really had no idea how bad it's really going to get. Of course, everyone was alarmed and disappointed that ITB was canceled, but we thought it's going to be like a cold and a flu, and it's going to be finished in about a month. So since all of us that were in Berlin already and registered for this event, we actually had our meeting at the Grand Hyatt Hotel on March 5th. And in the original meeting, we had Dov, who was on our meeting last night. He cannot join us now in Israel, and several others. It was a small meeting, but that's when rebuilding.travel started. And we continued rebuilding.travel, and it was built up, and many of you were there from the very beginning, and currently has members in 127 countries. So we're quite global. We have people in the public sectors. We have ministers of tourism, CEOs of tourism boards, but we kind of are looking out for the medium and small guys in the business. These are really our core membership. These are the medium and small size companies, the tour guides, independent hotels, and they have made a big difference in our discussion. Now, in December, we decided to start an organization where we brought Rebuilding.travel in, and this was the launch of the World Tourism Network. World Tourism Network is now a member organization. We're complement to any other organization. We're not competing with anyone. We're just trying to be helpful for those that wanted to be part of our Rebuilding.travel discussion and join other discussions. So currently, with about 1,450 members and 700 observers, we're a little bit more than 2,000 altogether in 127 countries. And the way we structured is really, we have interest groups. And these interest groups have different sectors of the industry. Like last night, we heard from Vijay, who runs our aviation interest group. We're going to hear from Professor Snow White, who just joined us now, about our education interest group. We have an hospitality interest group. We have one for the tour guides. We did tour events for tour guides, and I know Diana was one of them. We actually did an inauguration party for President Biden in Washington, where we had tour guides showing us around a kind of closed-up Washington, D.C. this time. We had an event with tour guides from Tanzania, from Bhutan, from Peru, showing us around their thing. And I think there is a wonderful opportunity actually for tour guides to stay in business in selling virtual tours. So we're going to hear hopefully about this today. Marikar is trying to join us in between. However, she also has some other events she's attending today. Now, without further ado, I wanted to just say before we start, there are two co-founders. They're here for the organization. There is Dr. Peter Tarlow. He will be joining us shortly. He's currently on a conference call with Japan. He's involved in the Olympic planning in Tokyo. And as soon as he finished this call, he will join us. And we just actually had his wife joining us, so welcome. And then, of course, we have Dr. Taleb Rifai, who has been essential in what we're doing right from the very first moment. And the Rebuilding.travel discussion, actually, in the beginning, it was really part of the Project Hope, what was started and initiated by the African Tourism Board and by Dr. Taleb Rifai and by Cuthbert Nkubi, who's also joining us, and we will hear from him. So it came from Africa, and it was an African idea we kind of now taking to a global level. So we're very much aligned with the African Tourism Board in anything and everything we have been doing and how we got started. So without further delay, I wanted to just say that Louis D'Amour, he's the CEO and the founder of the Peace Through Tourism, International Institute for Peace Through Tourism. He's trying to join us now, but he hasn't managed to be online. When he comes in, I'm going to try to give him the floor right away because he has a doctor's appointment and he cannot be with us for too long. So I'm going to watch out for him. But I think, why don't we just hear from Dr. Taleb Rifai, and then we go to our guest of honor. Good morning, Taleb, or good evening, better.
It is evening here in Jordan. Thank you so much, Jürgen. I'm calling you from Amman, Jordan. It's one of the 127 countries that Jürgen just mentioned. I'm very happy to be here. I want to recognize the presence of Ivan from Ukraine. Ivan, welcome. And the presence of Jeffrey Lipman as well as my co-founder, Cuthbert Nkubi from ATV. Jürgen, thank you so much for this opportunity. It's a great opportunity. Diana, it's wonderful to be here again with you. You and your tour guides are wonderful people. You're the core of our industry without doubt. You're the blood and butter of this industry. Now, why am I speaking here? I'm speaking here because I want to thank one particular person, Thomas Jürgen. Jürgen has been the instrument bringing all of us together. I'm sorry I'm not speaking so loud. I just took my vaccine today, my second vaccine. I'm feeling a bit tired. That's why I could not join in the morning. But otherwise, I'm doing well. Alhamdulillah. Thomas, Jürgen, thank you so much for bringing all of us together. Modi, my best regards to Indonesia. Thank you so much, everyone, for being with us today. It's a great opportunity to celebrate. I was not with you in Berlin. I was with you the year before that. It's the only year I missed was last year. But I've been with you in spirit. I'll continue to support you as much as I can. Thank you so much, Jürgen. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, and for everything you're doing, Dr. Taleb Rifai. For those that are watching us and are not 100% familiar, especially if you're not part of this industry, Dr. Taleb Rifai was the Secretary General for 2 terms at the United Nations World Tourism Organization, and really under his leadership, he brought the private and public sector together like no one else. And I think the world of tourism owes him a tremendous thanks. And now, even after his retirement, Dr. Rifai has been active in so many different initiatives. It's unbelievable. I don't know how you do it, but you must be the healthiest person on earth. And that's what we wish you. Stay healthy. And I hope the second vaccine will do you good. So without a further delay, I wanted to introduce our guest of honor. And this is also a gentleman who has been essential in the African Tourism Board. I helped to also set up in 2018. And Cuthbert will say a little bit more, but I wanted to not let him wait. He's the Minister of Tourism from a very important country when it comes to travel and tourism. It's the Kingdom of Eswatini. And those that don't know where Eswatini is, and I know there are people where we have a global world and not everyone knows where every country is, but if you hear Swaziland, then you know where it is. Swaziland, it's now the Kingdom of Eswatini. It's in the southern part of Africa. And the Honorable Minister, Vilakathi, has been, as I said, essential. He's always available. He's always there. He has joined a lot of our sessions, even quietly in the background. And I want to thank you for this.
Great minister.
Yes, he's a global player from an important country, but he will tell you himself. Welcome. Good evening, Honorable Minister.
Good evening, Johan, and good evening to all. It's always great to be here and to listen and to hear from great friends. As I've been introduced, I'm the Minister of Tourism, but I've also other feathers like because it's Minister of Tourism, Environment Affairs, and Forestry. So it's quite a mouthful, and I'm very excited to be part of this discussion. Here we are talking rebuilding travel, but I really wanted to focus more on Africa because, and to that extent, talk a bit about Eswatini. But maybe before I even get there, when I joined the African Tourism Board, little did I know that I would meet great friends, great people who were able to share with me their experiences in tourism. My background is that of being an agriculturalist. So here I am now having to talk tourism. But I was used to traveling, so I used to experience a few things here and there. But when I became a member of the African Tourism Board, I gained a lot of experience from the expertise that you have heard of, some of the individuals that have been introduced. And for me, it was very exciting to meet, greet, and share experiences on how we can shape tourism in Africa and throughout the world. And that is the exciting part. And when I look at the year where we are right now and realize the achievements that we have had, and obviously some challenges here and there, I can attest that this has been a a worthwhile journey for us to achieve more. Where is Eswatini? Well, some would say, hey, we have never heard of such a country. It is there. It's in Southern Africa, surrounded by South Africa and Mozambique. It's about 17,000 square kilometers. Very small, but with a big heart. And a very big heart for that matter. We pride ourselves as a country that still follows traditions and cultural norms of the country. We are a monarchy, and we have preserved our culture, which is very rich for the past 400 years, which is basically from generation to generation. And we therefore welcome guests from the continent, from the world, who visit our country to witness some of these cultural events and activities. They are there throughout the year. But more than that, when you look at the scenery, is very majestic with valleys and forestry, plus wildlife reserves. We pride ourselves that we have got the Big Five, which you can be able to see within a day. And this has helped us a lot, the combination of the culture and the combination of the wildlife and the sceneries. But this is true for most of the African countries, as some of you might have visited, because Africa prides itself of that. It still needs to be nurtured. And the issue of environment, I was happy that as a country where tourism and environment under one roof, because through the preservation of the environment, then we're able to say we have got a country, we've got the environment which we try to keep intact. Now, when I look back in terms of the rebuilding of the travel, it has not been an easy journey. In particular, after March last year, when COVID-19 came and changed the way in which we were used to attracting people to come to our country. I remember very well, I thought that it was going to be just a 1 month thing. I said, it's just a normal flu. It's going to be over within a week, a month. It's the whole year right now. So we've got to start adapting to the new norm, because it's now a new normal. Thank God that the doctors have been very good, and they've started producing some of these vaccines, which we hope will now help us to start opening our borders and visiting our brothers and sisters and our friends. What did we then do as a country and as a region and as Africa? During those pandemics, each country obviously had to close its borders. And it meant the tourism sector was really affected, and affected badly. In our country, tourism contributes about 10%. But last year, 10% of the GDP. But due to the COVID, it has gone down to almost 3%. Hospitality industries have closed. People have been retrained. And we've started thinking about the new norm. How do we now survive? How do we rebuild our travel? How do we make sure that the people that used to enjoy the wildlife can still come to our countries? This is the big question that I think we need to discuss and deliberate on to make sure that we can rebuild our fragile tourism sector. But maybe before I end, tourism is really resilient. And if we package our narratives, we would ensure that we can attract those people that love to travel. People have been quarantined and they are saying we want to come. And therefore, it's about time to say we are open. And Africa is now opening, by the way. We are already seeing countries getting the COVID vaccines. And we're hoping that by July, August, most of these countries would have been vaccinated. And that is an opportunity that we can now cherish together. But as countries, what we then did was we started focusing on the domestic tourism. We realized that there were lots of things that we didn't know internally. And that has been going from country to country. And fortunately, it's an opportunity that has been brought by this pandemic because now we have more ambassadors. We now have more people who now understand the countryside, who understand what the beauty of the country, the sceneries, etc. And that to me has been the lessons that I've learned to make sure that as I present today, I can say I now understand the country better because I've also tried to travel because there were certain places that I wouldn't travel because I wanted to lead from the front to make sure that, yes, you can go to such and such a place. Yes, you can enjoy a meal in there. Yes, you can climb this mountain. And I think that is the lesson that I learned. As we move forward, we have a dedicated strategy that say, as we open our borders, let's make sure that we can incentivize the people and the tourists that are going to come to our various countries. We can now share with our neighbors so that if people come to Southern Africa, we can start looking at a bouquet, which will allow people to visit one country and to the next. But the key is to make sure that the protocols are similar, because if the protocols are not similar, then we might encounter problems as we move forward. Otherwise, with me, I'm very excited to be here. I look forward to the discussions and to answer any questions. I realize that there are a number of guests, so I felt that I should just whet your appetite so that I can be able to answer questions as we move along. Thank you very much, Johan, and thank you very much for listening to me.
And thank you, Minister, so much for laying this out. Before we get to question, if you allow us, I wanted to recognize Louis D'Amour. He has very limited time, I understand, so I want to give him the floor, and then we can maybe go to questions for the Minister and Louis, and then go on in the program. And in between, it's an open forum. So if you have questions of any sort in between, feel free to raise your hand. But Louis D'Amour is the founder and president of the International Institute for Peace Through Tourism. He's joining us from New York. He's been there also from the very beginning. I think we don't really have to explain. Peace through tourism is self-explanatory. He had a number of, I would say, very influential events in the world. He can tell you a little bit about himself, his organization, and we're very glad to have you here, Louis. Good morning.
Good morning, Thomas, and my apologies for being late signing on. I had a funeral to go to that I didn't realize till last night. So thank you for your patience, and hello to everyone. It's good to see so many friends there joining you. And Jürgen, I want to congratulate you and Peter Tarlow on your 1-year anniversary of this amazing achievement. It's great to see so many friends celebrating with you, in particular, Dr. Taleb Rafai, who inspired us all during his 8 years as UN WTO Secretary General and continues to do so. IIPT has been most honored that he agreed to be chairman of our International Advisory Board on leaving the UN World Tourism Organization. You have been successful in uniting small and medium-sized travel and tourism businesses and giving them a voice to express their needs and aspirations. With members in more than 120 countries and growing, as well as chapters and networks. which includes a Peace Through Tourism network that we look forward to expanding in the days ahead. I'm particularly grateful to you and World Tourism Network for hosting several IIPT Zoom forums, the most recent of which announced a series of IIPT initiatives in support of the UN International Year of Peace and Trust. Some of these include the IIPT ASRAC project, with a goal of providing humanitarian assistance for Syrian refugees in the Azraq Community Center in Jordan. A community organic farm in India linked to tourism with the local administration of the region and involving MBA students in a rural sensitization program. Transforming communities through community tourism with a strategy that includes community development, entrepreneurship, inclusive innovation, and civic participation. And I'm glad to see Diana McIntyre Pike is with us today, and she certainly will be able to expand on that much further. An olive tree trekking route in Turkey that incorporates the archaeological and current olive tree locations with an emphasis in certain historic communities where IIPT Peace Parks will be located as focal points along the route. An online booking platform for travelers interested in peace through tourism. And I believe Andreas Larentzakis is also there with us. He can expand on that. Peace with Food, a documentary on sustainable organic agriculture. Peace tours to Chernobyl, Hiroshima, and North Korea. A festival of peace in Iran, and a goal of increasing IIPT's peace parks around the world from 450 to 1,000 by the end of the year. This is our primary initiative, Jürgen, and we welcome everyone to join us on this. Jürgen and the World Tourism Network, as well as Jeff Lippman and his Sun X project, will be joining us as partners on this initiative. In the spirit of thinking globally and acting locally, I've been working on the dedication of a peace park in my hometown, Utica, New York, where I have returned after being away for 63 years. F.T. Proctor Park in Utica is a National Historic Site, and it will be dedicated as an IIPT Peace Park on September 1, the UN International Day of Peace. I invite all of you to join us in achieving the goal of 1,000 IIPT Peace Parks circling the earth, or any of the projects I have mentioned. Please contact me at ljd@iipt.org. Thank you very much for this opportunity, Jürgen. And again, congratulations to you and Peter, and my best to all who are participating in this with you.
No, thank you very much,
Thank
Lou.
you.
And
Thank you so much, Lou.
And if you needed Lou's address, he's also on the WTN website. Just look him up, either look under New York, or better even click on the interest group for Peace Through Tourism, and you have Lou's contact information there as well. And you can actually also see, if you go to archive, specifically to livestream.travel, the two events we did for IIPT. They're quite intensive and very informative. I wanted to
Jürgen, can I just interrupt you a second, as I came in late, and just apologize to everyone for coming in late?
Yes, yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Hi, Peter.
Hi, hello to everybody. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm on the security workings for the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles, and often these committee meetings just seem to pop up out of no place. So I had to be at an Olympics committee meeting, and then I got back to you all as soon as I can. Louis, thank you for your good words. Minister, I'm sorry I missed the first part of it. I apologize. Lots of success, and I'm sure this is being a wonderful program. So this is a really great day for both Jürgen and me as far as celebration. We started this a year ago, and here it is.
No, thank you, Peter, and thanks for
Talib, good to see
raising
you.
your hand.
Thank
I
you,
didn't
Peter.
even see you came in. I saw
Thank you,
your
thank
wife
you.
is in, and welcome also, Nancy, for joining us. But let's go back very briefly to Minister Vilakati. I think he had a very, very interesting discussion, and he really did a great job of introducing the Kingdom of Eswatini. And Minister, what I'm suggesting is also, and I wanted to just see if anyone has any specific questions, but that we do maybe a special session on Eswatini, where we could actually just talk about your country, your achievements. And I know the head of your tourism board, Lillian, she has been extremely active over the years. And I think there could be a lot to talk to about. So we'd be very happy to facilitate this and give everyone a really good overview and what's going on and what are the plans for Eswatini. I'm trying to get you back on the spotlight here, but my computer is not. Oh no, now it works. Okay, so so we got you back in the picture here. But I'm wondering if any one of you has a question to the minister right now. Please raise your hand, and we can do this. Or of course you can, when anything comes up during the course of this session, and we have a very intense session with a lot more very interesting, a lot of more interesting speakers as well. But we have Max from Germany raising his hand. Go ahead, Max. Max, you have to unmute yourself, I think. Well, okay. I think for some reason it didn't work out. But we have Anita raising her hand. Anita, let us know where you're from, and go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, WTN team. This is a wonderful program. I'm happy to be here. I'm from Nigeria. I'm the president of the Women in Renewable Energy Association, and I'm also the founder, chairman of Smiling Simon Greenfield Foundation, and we are into ecotourism. We are working through the tourism value chain in such a way that we can decarbonize, the environment. And I love what the minister has spoken about, the environment, protection of the environment through tourism. And I really would like to ask him, how can we all work together in Africa, particularly through that wonderful body, African Tourism Organization, that we can have a pavilion in one country of the 54 countries, featuring our foods, our culture, tradition, our beverages, all under one little pavilion, so that we can actually work with a peace mission, because we can go through food and our beverages and foster peace in Africa. That is my question for him. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. This is a mouthful. I was last in Nigeria when I went to Ibadan at IITA, and I learned a lot, particularly about business, and also some of the cultural activities that obtained in Nigeria. I was very, very excited. There were certain things I was trying to steal, but little did I know that at some point I'll be a minister. If I knew then, I would have ensured that some of your cultures would have come down south of Africa. I think the question that you are putting on the floor is very, very important. How can we make sure that we can capitalize on the rich cultures of Africa? Because from country to country, the cultures are very, very rich. I think we need to start looking at that. When I look at some of these cultural events that are done outside of Africa, like the Brazilian cultural event, I think we can have one in Africa. And through African Tourism Board, I will have to push Cuthbert to make sure that we host one, so that all of these cultures can come together. It can start as a weekend, and thereafter maybe for the whole week. Imagine having all of those cultures under one roof, and each one showcasing what they are good at. Of course, I know that Eswatini would beat you, but that's for another day. I think it's a wonderful idea, Cuthbert. Please, let's take it as part of the menu that as we move forward. I really would like to take this one on immediately.
No, this is a very good feedback, Anita. And of course, we didn't forget Cuthbert. Cuthbert definitely needs to weigh in there. Before we go to Cuthbert, Taleb raised his hand. So let's go to Taleb and then we go to Cuthbert, if that's okay.
Thank you so much. I just want to salute the minister. He's been a great minister. And I want to tell him something, a secret between him and I. He shouldn't worry about the fact that he's not specialized in tourism. You're an agricultural person. You have passion for tourism. I was like you. I came from architecture, from politics, into tourism. But you have to have passion, and you have it. Minister, what you said is absolutely correct. You are a great man, and you'll do a lot of good things, I'm sure. Just wanted to say that before we move on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Taleb. And and the minister already addressed Cuthbert Nkubi. Cuthbert Nkubi is the chairman of the African Tourism Board. African Tourism Board started in 2018, and Cuthbert has been there from the very beginning. African Tourism Board, when you think about African Tourism Board, you definitely think about Cuthbert Nkubi in Pretoria, and there's a lot going on, and I think the suggestion from Moses is quite important. And Cuthbert is now, I think, joining us today from Namibia. He's traveling. And I have to say that we're all of us who knew Cuthbert had COVID in quite a bad way. And it looks like he fully recovered. And there's a little bit of a story also through it. And if you want to tell this story, feel free to do so. We've published it in eTurboNews, but it's amazing the recovery Cuthbert made. He looks like the old Cuthbert, and I don't mean old in a way of old, but you're looking young and fresh. And thank you for joining both sessions, Cuthbert.
From African, saved by African.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Jürgen. Really appreciate your support and your prayers as well. Honorable Minister, thank you so much. We really appreciate, always eager to move and to run. And we really appreciate as we are aligning Eswatini within the global tourism space. We acknowledge and we're noting your endeavors and your participation as well within the African Tourism Board. We really appreciate and thank you so much. Thank you so much once again, Dr. Talo, Dr. Taleb, as we celebrate the high and byways of success drawn by yourselves and the team players behind the World Tourism Network, supported by the African Tourism Board in bringing the tourism champions together in so many engagements that we have had. May I hasten to echo the words of our executive member and patron of African Tourism Board, Dr. Taleb, that all mankind originated from Africa. It doesn't matter the color of your skin, it doesn't matter your height and your length, we are all brothers and sisters. The beauty part of it is that tourism has cemented that narrative and reality of it. May I therefore be allowed to go much further to say that Africa is the richest continent on earth, with so much gold mined from mountains and valleys of almost all the member states. Diamonds produced in South Africa, Botswana, in Namibia, where I am today, Liberia, Sierra Leone, just to name a few. We produce the best cocoa. Africa produces the best tea that has found its market on the shelves of the United Kingdom and beyond. So therefore, Africa has plates of platinum and layers that can supply the whole world for the next decade. What am I saying, colleagues? When it comes to tourism, it is the only primary drivers of economic growth and job creation in Africa. We have a unique history, as I allude to my minister, that with our diversity across the continent, our natural wonders that have gained momentum and attention amid the local and global increase in cultural heritage. I allude with you, Anita, that with our rich cultural heritage, we need to have a conference where we have a conversion of all our diversity to celebrate the beauty of Africa through tourism. Our 54 member states have tremendous opportunity to become and remain vibrant hosts for both domestic and international tourism and investment at large. Therefore, as we set the pace for activation to our tourism economy, dear brothers and sisters across the globe, Africa is open. Africa is rich. Come visit and invest. This is your home. We will welcome you with wide open arms. Thank you so much, Jürgen. We really appreciate. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Cuthbert, for your input.
Cuthbert. Thank you.
And thank you again, Minister Vilakazi, for your presentation. And we keep this an open discussion. So if there are important issues or questions, bring them up. You can also email us later. We can share it with the Honorable Minister, with Cuthbert. And we're going to have many more sessions and discussions to get into more details, I'm sure. Also wanted to recognize Zine Nukwana. She's joining us from Johannesburg, and she has been essential also in the African Tourism Board. Now let's go from Africa to London.
Jürgen, can I comment on?
Sure, go ahead.
I just wanted to mention that had it not been for COVID, IIPT was planning a global summit in Africa on the theme, "Come Home to Africa, Birthplace of the Global Family." And Cuthbert, maybe IIPT and the African Tourism Board can cooperate on such a conference as soon as COVID permits.
And I think that's a wonderful idea, and we can definitely help to coordinate this. And Cuthbert was saying something, but you're muted, Cuthbert.
No, I was just saying thank you so much, Luis. We really appreciate your energy. And as African Tourism Board, definitely it would be an honor for us to synergize and start working together. I remember we participated together in one of the conferences a few years ago in Johannesburg. It will be a great pleasure. Let's work towards it. Most probably, let's converge and have a discussion so that we can start the preparations.
Yeah, and Dr. Rafai is aware of this. I've had discussions with Dr. Rafai on such a conference. And Jürgen, Cuthbert, I look forward to further communication with you to see if we can move this forward.
Okay, thank you so much. And we're wanted to go to London, and you see already the picture for Andrew Brown. And let me give you a little bit of a background before we give the microphone to Andrew. Andrew represents the the WTTC, World Travel and Tourism Council, what many say is the home for the most influential companies in the world in regards to travel and tourism. And I have to say, this discussion on rebuilding travel COVID and everything else actually is a little bit older than a year. And I know I had very intense discussions with Gloria Goravar. She is the CEO of WTTC, former Minister of Tourism from Mexico. And we were talking before ITB was even canceled. And she was very active in this. We had some very good back and forth and everything ever since. We've been in touch on WhatsApp almost every week. And of course, follow the initiatives from WTTC. Many, and we have written this in eTurboNews, believe that Gloria is probably the most influential woman or person in the travel and tourism industry. And it's not only taking the task now of the private industry, and Taleb brought the private industry and the public sector together, but she's keeping this concept. I think WTTC started with Taleb when he was in charge of UNWTO forward and onward, pretty much on her own in a lot of ways. And she's been a wonderful woman. She wasn't able to attend us personally. I'm sure there's so many events for her to attend, but she made sure that Andrew, and Andrew can tell you who he is and what his role is in WTTC, but we're very pleased to have you here, Andrew.
Before Andrew speaks, may I just say something about the
Sure.
WTC is the only organization now that's picking up the pieces when it comes to government cooperation. The only organization. As the minister said, it's not enough to have each government work on its own, do its best. If governments don't work together, if all authorities don't work together, it won't work. You're the only organization that's picking the pieces. Thank you so much, Andrew, for being with us. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Taleb. Thank you, Taleb, and thank you, Jürgen, for that very nice introduction. Am I able to share my screen by chance?
Yes, you can. Go ahead.
Thank you. Well, it's a pleasure to be here, everyone, and thank you for having the time. I'm Andrew from the World Travel and Tourism Council, calling in from London. You'll hear that my accent is not here from the UK. I'm from New Zealand originally, so where COVID is not really present right now, but we'll fight that battle.
Thanks to the lady Prime Minister.
Yes, Jacinda's job down there. So I'm the regional director here at WTTC for Europe and Oceania is simply for translation purposes, as we speak a lot faster down in that part of the world. And but it was great to hear the passion that you have for Africa, and I can't wait to go traveling once again and the amazing continent that is Africa, and the powerful messaging that you're putting across is amazing. Please continue that. And Minister, same to you as well. It's great to hear that Eswatini is looking to use tourism as a massive driver of your economy, currently 10%, and we look forward to seeing the results increase even more as we go forward. So if I just take a moment to introduce everyone here to WTTC, just in case you might not know, obviously Taleb is not on the slide, but Taleb is our ambassador, our global ambassador, and we're very delighted to have him as our ambassador.
Thank you.
WTTC is the global body that represents the private sector in travel and tourism. Our members are some of which that you'll see on the screen here, and they encompass all geographies and all industries within travel and tourism, from airports to cruises, from OTAs, travel services to tour operators. Every single industry is encountered within WTTC. We were founded 30 years ago last year, so it was a unique year to celebrate our 30th anniversary. And the reason for WTTC was around highlighting the economic impact that travel and tourism has on the world economy, but also on the country and regions of this world. So the minister mentioned that Eswatini has 10% of its GDP focused on tourism. That's very, very well aligned to the global average, where travel and tourism contributes 10.3% to the global economy. Now, these are pre-COVID numbers. So as you can see on the graph below, that we were experiencing a very, very positive time, where it was 8-9 years of consecutive growth of travel and tourism over and above the global economy. And during that time, obviously Taleb was the SG of UNWTO, and that was a very golden age of travel and tourism. One other point I want to point out on this slide is travel and tourism accounted for 1 in 4 of every new jobs created globally. So if you think of every 4 jobs, 1 of them was in travel and tourism. And this made up 330 million jobs worldwide. So we were a very dominant sector. We were doing very, very well. And so that was pre-COVID. Now, to show what it's done now, what's COVID done to us? Well, at the end of last year, we projected that 174 million jobs had been impacted. Now, let's remember that initial number was 330 million. So 174 is over 53% below. And that's very significant. And then if we translate that into dollar figures, you can see there it's 4.7 billion. So that's very, very significant. Sorry, 4.7 trillion. So again, 53%. But then we looked at it and said, hey, how can we look towards a positive recovery in 2021? What would be the best outcome of international collaboration, which I'll come on to very, very soon. And we saw that there is the opportunity, if the governments combine, the private sector, the public sector, all get together and we can recover 111 million jobs, which is a massive upside in what we were seeing compared to earlier on last year. And of course, there is a conservative effort of 84 million jobs. That is still a significant uptick in what we were doing and how we're seeing it. Now, how can we get there? So WTDC does produce economic impact research for 185 countries and 25 regions globally. But we also do research on the very key issues that face all of us across travel and tourism. So one of them in 2019, ironically, was crisis. And we were preparing internally using our members and global experts to say, how can we best prepare for when a crisis happens, not knowing that COVID-19 was coming about. And what this did highlight was the need for international collaboration, international coordination, everyone working together to get back the status quo. And as you can see on the right, the different timelines that we saw when people work together and when they don't. And so if I go to the next graph here and show you what we mean by the importance of an international collaboration. On the top left-hand side, so the world, so this is the global economy, the global performance over this time period from 2000 to 2019. A there, you'll see is 9/11. So this is what we've called a U-shaped recovery. Now, this is where it was very disparate. A lot of different countries and nations and regions were acting in silos. So there wasn't international coordination. We weren't on the same playing field. So you can see the recovery took a lot longer to bounce back. But when we go to number B there, which is the global financial crisis that was hitting in 2008, 2009, there was international coordination. That is a V-shaped recovery. So you can see it's a very, very quick bounce back from what we were in terms of the 9/11 to how we were following the GFC. And the reason I have the other two graphs there on the right-hand side is that the G20 very much mimics and influences the world economy, as we well know. And so what WTDC has been doing over this time, over the last year, and congratulations once again, Jürgen, for your first year anniversary, is working very, very closely with the G20 under the leadership last year of Saudi to really put towards how can the private sector help the public sector get back and recover really, really fast. And I'm delighted to say there was a lot of work done here, and I'm happy to share the points that we agreed on, and Saudi really led this with behalf of our members on this. So where are we now? How can we create that V-shaped recovery? How can we bounce back as quickly as possible? And so what we've got here is the approach that WTDC is taking. And first of all, that is making the invisible visible. This is putting in place testing procedures so that we are not exporting the virus, so that when we are at the ports or airports, there is testing in place. And this also leads on to having an individual risk assessment versus a national risk assessment. So this is around the testing and ensuring that if I here in the UK want to travel to Africa, anywhere in the great continent of Africa, all I need to do is take a test and travel and obviously be negative. But that also applies to the vaccine. So having both in place. And sort of as you can see down the points here, I think that one of the most important ones is that there is no one solution that fits. Right now, there is many, many digital apps, many digital passes in discussion and implementation. And what WTDC is pushing is for their interoperability. So to ensure that they all talk together and can all communicate the same message so that when we are traveling to any country in the world, it is recognized that we have had a negative test or that we have been vaccinated, as this will ensure that the quarantines, which are just so restrictive, that the quarantines can be removed. And I guess the final point there is the certainty. It is the clear and concise communication is what WTDC is really putting out there. It's for governments and the private sector to both align around what particular tests that we need, how long can we go, and all this will help and allow travelers to travel a lot easier, which is what we all want. So how can we do this? And so at WTDC, with our members behind us, so we have 200 of our members, which are presidents, chairs, and CEOs, we've developed principles to establish international mobility. So you can see these on the slide here, and sort of what they really boil down to is rapid, low-cost testing so that we can avoid exporting the virus, as well as protocols, and the minister mentioned protocols. And these are very, very important to help ensure that there is consumer confidence, whether we're on airplanes, in hotels, in tour operators or whatever, is that their health and hygiene are at the #1 priority, #1 goal, whether that's wearing a mask or whether that's sanitizing all conditions. It's very important. As well as there, you'll see the continued support for our sector, as that includes fiscal, includes liquidity, as well as promotions going forward and setting aside cash, money, to allow the destinations to promote themselves going forward and the new normal that we are seeing coming forward. So where are we? Right now, as we're very well aware, there is a vaccine rollout, but it's going to be very slow to ensure that there is herd vaccinations across the world. So right now, the seniors and vulnerable are being vaccinated, and Talib, it's great to hear you've had your second vaccination today, but it's going to take a long time to get everywhere. So what can we do before then? So as I mentioned, there are a lot of apps. It's using these, it's using testing and the protocols. Now, WTDC developed protocols for 11 different industries globally last year. More than happy to share them with you. Please just reach out, as well as a safe travel stamp. So this is so organizations can put a global recognition that they have signed up and are enforcing health and hygiene protocols. So this is where we see different milestones going forward that we can get back to normalization. But what will the future of travel tourism be? So obviously we're not going to go back to how we were, but we're going to be better than where we were before. So this is going to focus on the digital agenda. So these are the apps. This is contact tracing. This is the use of technology through the airport, through hotel check-in, so that there is contactless, as well as sustainability agenda has been accelerated. So it's great that Jeffrey Littman is speaking very, very shortly around his amazing project that we're working with. And that is really at the core forefront of where travel and tourism is going around sustainability. Some protocols, of course, are gonna exist, but at the end of the day, right now, we just need to learn to coexist with the virus and ensure that we are putting in place these protocols, wearing a mask, sanitizing our hands, so that we can get back to enjoying the lovely world that we have. So how are we doing this? So WTDC every year hosts a global summit. Last year was an abnormality, but this year, next month, we're going to be hosting our first hybrid summit. So there'll be an in-person with the top of the line protocols and guidelines in place to ensure the health and hygiene of everyone present, as well as a massive virtual aspect. So over 25,000 virtual options are available to sign up to. So if you'd like to have an invitation to the Global Summit, please let me know. And I'm more than happy to distribute that. Obviously, our hosts are the Mexican Caribbean, so in Quintana Roo in Mexico. I'm very looking forward to going there. So thank you for listening to me. I'm more than happy to ask any questions and also share any more insights that WTDC has to share with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Very interesting as always. Perhaps if you wanted to send us the PowerPoint, we'd be happy to share it also. And as I said, we're very glad you're here. WTDC, of course, has a leading role in this environment, and that you're from New Zealand is very assuring. One of our neighbors here, only 1 time hour away. Are you in New Zealand now, or are you in London?
No, I'm in London now. I can't.
In London, okay.
The borders are shut.
Okay, but in New Zealand, I think the whole world can really learn from New Zealand. The Honourable Minister raised his hand, and Honourable Minister, go ahead with your question.
No, thank you very much. This is very exciting presentation. In fact, I think key to where we are right now is the issue of the coexistence with the virus. I think for me, that's really key, because the protocols are going to be here. And I don't think anyone knows as to when this virus will be over. It will now be like in Africa, we've got smallpox, and every time you travel, you must make sure that you have gotten your jab or your injection. But maybe if you can assist here, Andrew, regarding the digital transformation, the form and shape, because I think that is going to be the new normal now. I mean, we are even talking about the issue of the summit. It has got to be virtual. And in fact, I saw one person commenting here that let's not wait until the COVID pandemic is over. Let's try and simulate some of these summits as if because it's likely to be the new normal. What are your views on that one? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister, and great question. And I'd just like to point out that the summit that I did mention will be both an in-person event and a hybrid virtual event. So there will be people on site, and I'll be traveling to Cancun next month to deliver the event in person. There'll be a lot of ministers of tourism there as well, particularly from LATAM and the Americas. And Minister, we're more than happy to extend an invitation for you to join us in Cancun. Around the digital agenda, and this has been a priority of WTC for 3 years now. When Gloria joined WTC over 3 years ago, the digitalization really came to the forefront, and that was around biometrics and establishing a safe and seamless traveler journey. So when we are going through the airport using technology there, that is developed out now in terms of ensuring that the safety and hygiene are at the #1 priority when we're going forward. And so where this taps, and I see this, there has been a comment in the chat box around Common Pass. We're working very closely with these apps and with these technology providers. So we have a number of technology providers as well who are members of WTC and very strong partners to ensure that when certain products are rolled out, that they are available to everyone and it doesn't discriminate against who perhaps can't tap into them right now, and ensure that it is the same message that everyone wants to put out.
Thank you very much. And I think Taleb had a comment.
Thank you so much. I just want to congratulate WTTC on its performance. I want to mention 2 things in particular. Overemphasis on vaccine is not good, that's for sure. Testing is by far much more available, much more affordable. And vaccination will not cover the whole world now. It will take years for people to be vaccinated because it's a matter of equity. Rich countries are not going to give in. So I'm glad that you mentioned in particular that vaccination is not going to be a requirement. So is quarantine. Quarantine and vaccination are not the solution. Not now, not for the immediate future. Thank you so much for saying this and doing it. But I just want to comment something since the minister is here, because what you said, the protocols, this summit that's going to be held in Cancun, which I'm very proudly attending next month, will be an opportunity for governments to come together. Because if governments don't work together, no protocols are going to work. You can't go from one country that has quarantine to another country that does not require anything rather than 72 hours ahead of time testing, or another country that is insisting on passport that says you're vaccinated. Governments have to come to a minimum of understanding together. The multilateral system, unfortunately, has failed us so far. The multilateral system needs to be restructured again, and the Cancun event is an opportunity for us to redo that and send a strong message to the world. The world needs to come together. We can't keep going on like this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Taleb. Thank you, Andrew. And I believe there's a lot more to say. And Andrew, if WTTC agrees, we'd be happy to do another session, as I offered the minister from Eswatini. In the future, we can discuss all these points in more detail. And yes, Cancun seems to be a very important event, and I will certainly try to. I cannot wait to leave this island here. Hopefully, sometime soon. Even though I love Hawaii, but you're kind of confined on 25 times 40 miles, and it's time to travel again. And hopefully, with the vaccine, we can all get into the stage. I wanted to go to Ukraine, and of course, if Dimitro, who works here in Honolulu, who is originally from Ukraine, is actually on the group here right now. We have one of your countrymen now with us, and his name is Ivan. Ivan, I'm sorry, I called him Ivan. Or
Ivan, right? Ivan, right?
Leptuga, and he's joining us from the. I think he's the head of the Ukraine National Tourism Organization, based in Kiev, if I'm not mistaken. And also, he's been a member for World Tourism Network and part of the Rebuilding.travel discussion from the beginning. And I have visited. I've visited Ukraine. Great country, fun people. They love to party. So when are we going to get back to this in Ukraine? Go ahead.
Thank you, Jürgen. Thank you, Jürgen, for invitation and for all what you do. Actually, I follow your World Tourism Network and all your e-news, eTurboNews for many years, and I'm excited how many things you do at the same time. And same like you, surprised about Talib Rifai, who is my teacher and inspirer, actually. In my opinion, the best Secretary General of UNWTO ever.
Thank you.
So thank you for invitation. I'm happy today to be a speaker here, to see so honorable speakers with me. May I just share some slides? I would like to speak on the topic. I didn't know what kind of format of this conversation will be, so I prepared a few slides about the situation about rebuilding travel, using some slides of the global picture, what we had in growth. In growth of tourism in recent 50 years, 70 years, that tourism was growing and nobody expected these changes. In recent 30 years, we had growth of more than 100%, and it was for us, our reality. Every year we saw about 5 to 8% of growth globally. And 2017 was the year of sustainable tourism and the biggest growth. So as all of you know from statistics of UNWTO, the biggest continent, 51% of arrivals are in the Europe, more than 740 million coming to the European continent, and Ukraine here in the center of Europe is the country of eastern part of it. And annually, before 2020, we had about 13.7 million people coming to us. So in 2019, we had smaller growth if to compare with 2018. But majority of countries expected the growth in 2020, and nobody could predict what will happen, what happened a year ago. And today, all of us will live in this reality when all lights of crosslight are shining at the same time, and nobody knows what will happen next and which countries will close their borders or open it. And so we live in this reality now, what even couldn't imagine a year ago. So the pessimist prognosis happened from UNWTO. What we could see that minus almost 74% globally we had in comparison with 2019. and in Europe it was almost minus 70%. So all countries and all continents live now in this situation when we develop our domestic tourism and even staycations. Majority of countries try to develop this domestic travel, and nobody knows exactly, but definitely we will not come back earlier than 22, 23 to previous figures. In Ukraine, our statistics looked like this. You may see in last 10 years, we had about almost 25 million arrivals of foreigners to Ukraine on 2013. In 2013, started our conflict with Russian Federation on the east of Ukraine and annexion of island of Crimea. And in that moment, the inbound to Ukraine decreased almost twice till 12 and 700 million. And from that moment, we were about the same level until the 2019. In 2020, we had only 3,400,000 of arrivals. On the top 5 positions from these 3 million were Moldovians, our neighbor country, Belarus, also our neighbor country, Russian Federation, Poland and Romania, all our neighbors. If you look on this table, the 98% of tourists who come to Ukraine, it's Eastern Europe and European states. So what we do during this year is we, as a National Tourism Organization, we are a non-governmental organization. When Talib Rifai was the Secretary General, I also placed the position of Director of Tourism Department in the Ministry of Economy. And at that time, we developed the marketing strategy and tourism strategy for Ukraine in 2013, so means 7 years ago. This is the brand of Ukraine, which was presented and approved by the UNWTO. Here, Mr. Talib Rifai and me met in 2017 on the conference, and this is sign of our brand signage by hands. So we organized the conference on destination branding in collaboration with UNWTO. It was in 2016, and during this conference we invited many neighbor countries from Eastern Europe and ex-CIS and spoke about the marketing and branding of destinations, how it works in new reality and in new digital format. In Ukraine, we promoted the idea of destination marketing and branding starting from 2015, 2016. Today we have a lot of branding and marketing concepts for almost all territories and all regions in Ukraine. And our organization strategy is to promote Ukraine as destination, as new destination of Eastern Europe. And National Tourism Organization was established by recommendations of UNWTO to the government of Ukraine. So during this year, we started to use this opportunity to institutionally strengthen our destination management organizations on the regional and local level. So we used this opportunity to work internally here in Ukraine and to develop our business associations and industry business associations, also with regional DMOs. we work mainly on support of international donors, because in our governmental system, tourism is not very well financed and understood as a real priority. No, it's in priority, it exists, but not enough investments in institutional strengthening until that moment. So we now work with international partners like European Bank of Reconstruction and Development, USAID, and German organization GIZ to consolidate the regions, to consolidate business associations. And our main activities now concentrated on better networking, coordination of all regions and all types of industries in tourism sector. We work on marketing of destinations. As I said, in 2020 we had chance only to present ourselves in Milano BIT. After this exhibition all went into lockdown. It was the only probably exhibition in 2020. We make different videos and movies promoting destinations for domestic tourism and also for international tourism when borders will be open. We created this year 250 products in all types of tourism for all regions of Ukraine, and our tour operators investigate different parts of Ukraine which were not very well known for them, so our goal is to present destinations to tour operators for inbound. We also started initiative of our training, and now we work actively on our development of e-learning programs. We created this year 9 e-learning programs for tour operators, hospitality industry, tourist guides, for DMOs, for quality management, for statistics in tourism, and also basics in tourism for communities. In quality, we work on implementation of international and European standards into our practical activities. According to very good book, which I recommend to all, especially now, Practical Guidelines of Integrated Quality Management in Tourism Destinations. These recommendations gives very clear vision how destinations should provide quality management on level of the whole destination, because every link in the value chain of tourism product matters. And so this year we developed in Ukrainian recommendations for about 20 different standards. These standards are about, as you can see here, on industrial tourism, ecological tourism, sustainable management of accommodation, sustainable events, beaches, and many others. We also developed 3 brand new standards for hostels, for rural tourism and rural accommodations, and just in December was presented new standard on medical tourism by ISO, which we also translated into our language and now present to our medical industry. All these recommendations are available on our website, and we promote them and provide certification of quality for industry. And we also promote the idea that certification on correspondence to the standards is a completely different story from awards and different prestige awards. We also became provider of Safe Travels initiative of World Travel and Tourism Council. We started our cooperation in May with World Travel and Tourism Council on that, and it was successful initiative in Ukraine because Many cities, almost all big cities and small cities joined the program. We translated all protocols into Ukrainian language and promoted this initiative all over our regions. And today we have about 500 different companies who provided the protocols and labeled it in their businesses. So we had a contest and made awards for best practices in these safe travels. We also concentrated on statistics. In statistics, we developed the methodology according to recommendations of UN on satellite account. I will not go in details on the figures which we found, but most important that we found in analyze that GDP in GDP tourism of Ukraine is 11.6%, which is good to understand for our governments and people who take decisions on the regional level. We created dashboards also available on our website, and now investors, businesses, and governments may study the statistics in details for about 10 years. We also work on investments. We had a conversation with Investment Council in tourism. Ibrahim Ayub, the colleague of Mr. Rifai, and we are going to organize a forum of Eastern Europe in investments of tourism. Don't know when, maybe next year, but we have it in plan. And also we work actively on public diplomacy. Public diplomacy, we involve people in promoting their destinations, residents, and for this we create ambassadors club in different cities. Also, after UNWTO made the 2017 the year of sustainable tourism, we have this tradition to announce every year in some particular topic. And 2021 we have the year of urban tourism, supported by the World Tourism Cities Federation, and in 24th of March we will have on our exhibition the conference joined with WTCF on that. Yes, this is brief how we spend this year trying to rebuild our travel and promote tourism in Ukraine.
Wow, you guys have been absolutely busy and fantastic material. And my invitation also to you, ready to do a event on Ukraine whenever you're ready. And I thank you for this outline. I had Andrew raising his great job, absolutely. And Andrew had a question. Go ahead, Andrew.
Not a question, just more congratulations to Ivan and his team. Our Safe Travels destination stamp has over 250 destinations, and I'd certainly say Ivan and Ukraine are up there with the best practice globally in terms of the rollout that they have done and the collateral and the really manpower they've put behind it to put tourism at the forefront. So congratulations, Ivan and Ukraine.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Yeah, we discussed that with you, and we are happy to promote this safe travels culture from protocols to culture. And in Ukraine, this worked pretty well because we didn't have from side of the ministry or from side of any government structure any such good marketing tool. Yeah, good marketing tool, and a lot of things are in on the level of marketing works better than just obligations and so on. So I think it was good initiative. I know all opinions about that, and that there's maybe more certification needed and so on. But I can say that it was a success story of safe travels in Ukraine.
Well, thank you very much, Ivan. Thanks, Andrew. And let's go to my good friend, Professor Jeffrey Lippman in Brussels. And of course, those in the industry know Jeffrey. I don't have to introduce him. Those that are maybe watching us from outside, Jeffrey has been actually the first CEO and founder or kind of the brainchild behind the World Travel and Tourism Council. He has been the Assistant Secretary General for the UNWTO, so that means he worked on both sides of the spectrum, and he's now very much involved in the green and climate friendly issue. Actually, Jeffrey and I were involved in Jeffrey and I were involved in the International Coalition of Tourism Partners, ICTP, and what is an organization that deals with green growth and quality equals business. And Jeffrey now is involved in SunX, and he will probably tell you a lot more. Jeffrey, you also raised your hand, but I thought I'd just wait and give you the floor exclusively now.
Thank you, Thomas, and or Jürgen, as you are known to so many. And as always, hi to my friend Taleb, with whom I worked closely for many years, and I share Ivan's view on Taleb's role as the Secretary General of UNWTO, which was outstanding. But first, I want to take the opportunity, I think on behalf of everyone, to congratulate you, Thomas, on being the most consistent and persistent network creator in our sector. I've watched you build ETN. I've heard all the good and the bad criticisms. You weather them all. You're fearless. You say exactly what you think. And the very fact that you've got, this time of night where I am on a Friday evening, and much later if you're going into Asia, so many people sticking with this event is just a tribute to your vision and your capability as a communicator. So I think on behalf of all of us, it's a 12-month anniversary. I want to make that point. And I did raise my hand. This is a second point, and I say this as an analyst. I agree with pretty much everything in Andrew's excellent presentation. It's a huge pleasure for me to see how effective WTTC is after very, very small beginnings. And it's a great tribute to Gloria and her team. And as Andrew said, we are very pleased and proud to be working with them on what I think is the biggest issue, which I want to talk about briefly. And it's bigger than COVID, it's the climate crisis. But I want to, before I make a few comments on that, I just want to say where I disagree with Andrew, and it's as an analyst. The COVID virus, we can respond to it as a sector and the different components of travel and tourism. But at the end of the day, it is a public health issue. And the opening of travel markets all the lobbying in the world will not change the grim reality that this virus kills people, and it kills lots of people. 500,000 people because Donald Trump treated it so casually in the United States. And our challenge as a sector, and we don't like to say this, but I'm old enough to say it, is we are always a risk element because we move people around. Millions of people, billions of people, we move around. And it's for that reason, on the one point, I think the government public health authorities have decided we have to have a vaccination regime around the world to give a global protection against this enemy. It's a war that we're in. And 1 year on, all I can see is that there's little improvement in the situation and little indication about when we will return to any sort of normalcy. And I think it was Ivan mentioned 22. I've heard aviation people talking about 24. I think we have to hunker down and do exactly the kind of thing that Ivan has just described, which is to preserve what we can and prepare for a re-emergence at some uncertain time in the future. And I truly believe that vaccination will become a bigger issue than, I think, Andrew, that was when I raised my hand. I think it will become a bigger issue because governments have to satisfy their electors that they're doing everything to protect their people. And it's bigger than we are, I'm afraid to say. So I don't want to take up too much time. Many of you have heard me on WTN before, and I find myself a little bit like that Roman senator who stood up every time, and he started every speech by saying, Carthage must be destroyed. And I'm saying every time, COVID is terrible, but climate will be COVID on steroids. Every government in the world has committed to the reality that if we don't fix this at a global level by 2050, and it means getting on track by 2030 with our carbon reduction, if we don't fix this, I've said this often, I repeat it, your grandkids, my grandkids are going to either freeze or they're going to fry. And if you want to see a better example, you can't find one than Texas in the United States for the last 2 or 3 weeks, which has had totally abnormal weather patterns. And its tourism has been dependent for a century on consistent weather patterns. All of our seasons, most of our products, many of our trade routes are there because of flows which follow weather. And climate destroys the weather that we have known it. So what we're doing at SunX Malta, Sun is a legacy for my friend and mentor, Maurice Strong, who built the UN response system, the Rio Earth Summit, the Stockholm Earth Summit, the United Nations Environment Programme, UNFCCC. Maurice was warning about the climate crisis 50 years ago. And what we are doing is we're trying to help the travel and tourism sector, companies and communities and destination marketing organizations adapt their planning to take account of the climate crisis. We've created a concept called climate-friendly travel, and that is low carbon. It's linked to the Sustainable Development Goals, which are much more complex than anyone in the industry is talking about and require considerable effort to be aligned with. And on the other hand, the Paris 1.5 scenario for climate reduction. And we're working very closely with WTTC. Gloria is taking a lead on this issue. And we do research together. We produce an annual report together. We've worked together to build a registry of climate ambitions where any company and any community at no cost can develop a plan and register it so that we will be aligned with the rest of humanity in following the changing norms that the UNFCCC, the climate agency, and the heads of government are aligning themselves to. We will not be able to create our own reality. We will either have to fit into the global reality, or we will simply be consumed by the crisis. And that's one dimension of our work, is research and a registry of ambitions. And the second dimension is education. It will not be us that are hit by the climate crisis. I will be dead. And most people on this call will be dead when it hits the worst. But our kids and our grandkids, they will be in the middle of it if we don't act. So we've developed an education system. We're looking at schools. We're looking at we have a diploma. We have 45 students from 30 countries around the world in the middle of this. It's the first diploma on climate resilience. And next month, 2 months' time, on the 29th and the 30th of August, we'll host the first of an annual global event called SAYS. It's the Strong Earth Youth Summit, and it will run for 2 days, and it will be a virtual event in 3 regions. It'll be in Canada for the Americas, it'll be in Bangkok for Asia Pacific, and it will be in Malta for Europe, Middle East, Africa. And we'll have a full program with some of the best thought leaders and industry decision makers and academics who are trying to see how we can adapt ourselves as a sector to fit in with where the rest of society is going. The reality is we are behind the curve. We talk a good game, but we do not do much to act. And we have 10 years to get it right. I see this as my last great crusade, and I'm happy to be working with Malta. It's a small island state which first put climate onto the UN General Assembly agenda. And they are supporting the work we are doing. And we would love to hear from people. We would love to engage. We have an open collaboration philosophy. This is a huge problem, and we can't deal with it in small sectoral or small specialized organizations. We have to get behind the leading initiative of the WTTC with the UNFCCC, and we have to follow science, and we have to make changes. The changes will be significant. They will be from the grassroots to the very top of the sector, and we have to start making them now. So, having produced an atmosphere of doom and gloom, let me finish again by thanking you, Thomas, for the opportunity to make this intervention and to say that we are open to SDG 17 collaborations with companies, with communities, with countries, with organizations. We have to move together on this issue.
No, thank you very much, Jeffrey. And I wanted to remind Green and Clean Voice. This is our interest group we started under Jeffrey's leadership, and hopefully you will see more when you go to interest groups and click on Green and Clean Voice. Talib, though, had a question before we move on.
I just want to congratulate Jeffrey. Jeffrey, always when he speaks, I feel jealous about it. Jeffrey is full of passion, and this passion is translating into action, really, Jeffrey. I really envy you. You're a wonderful person. What you said makes lots of sense. But I would just want to make one single comment on the issue of COVID and its relationship with the climate. I think they are two different issues. Climate is something that started before COVID and will continue after COVID, for sure. Now, regarding COVID, although I agree with you on the issue of the vaccine, many countries are going to play the vaccine card, but the vaccine is a card game that's played by the strong countries only, and it does not have equity. You can't impose vaccine just for travel. This vaccine passport, for example, is going to be a disaster, just like the quarantine is a disaster. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm against you in this at all. Just want you to think about it a little bit more. I think vaccine is being used politically now, more than anything else. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Talib. And if there are more questions, anything, unfortunately, we're running a little bit out of time. So let's move on, because we have 3 more short feedback here. One is from Alexandra Sasha in Montenegro. Alexandra is leading our Balkan chapter, and this was our very first chapter we started. And actually, she had the idea about chapters, and so she's been very active. We had a session from the Balkan region with Albania and Serbia, Montenegro, and so forth. And also Montenegro, I understand, is hard hit by COVID at this time, so they're going through a little bit of a hard time. Maybe just very briefly, Alexander, tell us who you are and where everything is.
Good evening or good morning to all WTN members spread all over the world. Kind regards to everybody. It is a great session tonight, and I really enjoyed. First of all, big thanks to you, Jürgen, as the main responsible for us being here tonight, celebrating 1 year of rebuilding travel. You did a great job together with Dr. Taleb, Peter Tarlow, and Dr. Taleb Rifai. Thanks to you, I would say we have made a real difference and became a trendsetters in global tourism during this pandemic. A year ago, we all thought that this would be a short-time project. Unfortunately, we are still here discussing the same topic, but with much more confidence and knowledge how to handle this difficult situation. Back in March, we were very confused regardless our experiences, titles, but now we are picking up, and I'm glad that many national economies and businesses have benefited from our activities. We have witnessed so many good and bad examples, and I'm sorry to say, but Montenegro is unfortunately the country where I'm from, is unfortunately a bad example of fighting COVID in both fields, public health and tourism. Now we are the most infected country in Europe and one of the top infected countries in the world. Even though during the last year, the rebuilding travel was trying hard to assist Montenegro. As me, as the representative of World Tourism Network and Rebuilding Travel, I was offering advices in consultation with the WTN team how to protect Montenegro from COVID disaster, to make it corona responsible destination. But and we made all of our studies and project proposals public through the media, but the decision makers, namely government, did not have the sense for it. So political obviously was over and still is over the public health and economic recovery. But I still believe that we will go through this because we are a very small economy, and we have a chance to take control over the pandemic, and I hope that government will make a last-minute turn and things will get better soon. So thank you very much for everything. As the song says, together we stay stronger, and I think we should remain connected even when the pandemic is officially over, because we have a lot to offer during the period of the new normal era which is ahead of us. So thank you very much. Stay connected and please stay safe.
Thank you, Alexandra.
Alexandra, I just think everyone should know that you are truly an example of someone who thinks globally and acts locally. And she's been right from the very beginning one of our main allies in getting things going. And though you were not able to always change the direction of your own country, I think you've done a tremendous job of bringing great information from where you are to around the world. So congratulations. I think people like you make the World Tourism Network really function. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for your support and
truly,
support
Alexandra. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you so much. And another person who has been there from the beginning, and we're really looking forward working with her and get started with education and the educational group. She's been, I think, at every single session we had. She joined us actually last night, my time, or this morning, your time, is Professor, and since I cannot pronounce her last name, call her Professor Snow White. She told me that's okay. Professor Snow White from Serbia. And she's running our educational committee. We're just now going to get more active in, and she's taking the lead and has been taking the lead in the sector. Welcome, Professor Snow White.
Thank you very much, Jürgen. Good evening from Belgrade, Serbia. Good morning, good afternoon. As Mr. Lipnes said, education is very important, and because of that, here in WTN, we think that this group is going to be very important. Hope that we will have very soon a meeting, and I would like all of you who would like to join the meeting with some proposal, please send us email here in Serbia, I can say that now we are having 4 different vaccines because vaccination is very important for tourism. We can't travel without it, and we start vaccination at the very end of the last year in December, and nowadays the people are vaccinated themselves. We have, I told that before that we had 3, now we have 4 vaccines here. Pfizer vaccine, the Russian, we have also Chinese vaccine, and AstraZeneca we got last week. I can tell you that people are strongly want to have a vaccine, and it is very good because we have more than 1.5 million people who were vaccinated. Tourism in Serbia, like all countries in the world, we had a very big decline of international tourism, about 80%. Domestic tourism was booming last year, like everywhere in the world, but we can't say that mass tourism is going to be very soon, end of the 2022, 2023 maybe. But in the meantime, we have to educate the people, because a colleague from Ukraine, he got a very good presentation about specific forms of tourism, because tourism is having so many different types of tourism, of specific forms of tourism, and formal education is not dealing with that. So I think that World Travel Network and the education, which we are going to, I hope we are going to make for these specific forms of tourism, are going to be very important. So it is very important for us to hear from you. What do you need? What do you think about education? And then we can have a panel like this and we can discuss about it. Thank you very much, Jürgen, for not only for this last year for rebuilding tourism, but for everything. I joined eTravelNews from the very beginning, and you proposed me to be eTravelNews ambassador, which was for me very important. And I can tell you that here in Serbia, we have a network nowadays. It's a new organization, Balkan Network of Tourism Experts, which is going to be a part of World Travel Network, because in the paper, it is recognized by the officials here in Serbia. And in the paper, we put that this network of tourism experts is a part of a World Travel Network. So all our members are going to be also members of a World Travel Network. And as many of you said, together we are going to be stronger. So we have to continue like this with all of you who are force for us. Thank you, Jürgen, and all of you for this wonderful panel. And I'm joining every panel because it makes me richer. Every time I heard so many new things, and I heard so many new people that I'm really, how can I say, I'm full with the energy after this panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Snowwood. And we're definitely looking forward to working with anyone in the Balkan region, in Serbia, in Montenegro, and everywhere else. I know we had the head of the tourism board from Albania in one of our sessions, and really, really important area in Europe in regards to travel and tourism. And I'm glad you're taking this leadership. If you have feedback for Professor Snowwhite, you can also just go to our website, wtn.travel, click on contact, and we'd be happy to forward it. Or you can click on the educational interest group, go to interest group, education interest group. You see Professor Snowwhite's picture there, and you can also contact her directly. Now, I know we're really a little bit getting short on time, and I want to thank you for those that have been joining us in the beginning, hour and 50 minutes ago, and are still here. So I'm very pleased about this. And but we have two more, really, one more presentation and one more announcement, both from Germany. We have Max Haberstroh joining us, and he will fill us in what he has to present. Max, go ahead if you can unmute yourself and maybe turn your camera. It doesn't seem to be working.
Thank you very much. Jürgen, do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you, but we can, I don't know if we can see you though. We cannot see you, we can only hear you.
You cannot see me. Can you see my picture?
We see your picture, your small
All right,
picture.
at least
But
that
that's
I have a
fine, go
problem.
ahead, we're looking at your picture.
Okay, thank you very much.
Start.
I apologize very much because I had a technical problem today, which has been pursuing me since a few days ago, so I'm sorry. And in the interest of other speakers or contributions, let me abridge a little bit my manuscript or what I prepared for today's evening. I want to concentrate actually on two items, especially the corona pandemic and the so-called king tourist and cross-cooperation. The global spread of COVID-19 and its economic, social, cultural, and environmental impact urges travel and tourism to readjust its parameters of thought and action. This may seem particularly difficult at a time marked by the freewheeling attitudes and individualized behaviors of seemingly more and more demanding and hedonistic travelers. The client is king argument may serve as just one statement characterizing this symptom. More and more, however, king tourist will have to accept a kind of trinity and to share power with, say, king local inhabitant and queen nature. Therefore, in view of occurrences that in the wake of the pandemic put many things upside down, I would suggest that hosts welcome measures proceed targeting at those potential visitors and hosts they really wish to receive in a likely way, as a landlord would choose scrupulously amongst his potential tenants to find out who fits best. This would serve to the best of the host-visitor relationship and as just one element to preserve and further the social and cultural authenticity of the destination. Last but not least, to peace on the place. In terms of cross-cooperation, I would like to say that we are facing a whole set of major challenges as the corona pandemic, climate change, environmental degradation and calamities, continued war hotspots and both latent and factual outbursts of terrorism, growing numbers of refugees, the widening of the discrepancies between rich and poor, and social unrest. Even travel and tourism has its share. Mass tourism hotspots have been for long already a source of alienation between frustrated hosts and visitors coming in by masses or behaving indecently. Altogether, there has gradually emerged a growing aversion of local people to live in a sort of multicultural melting pot that severely affects local customs and threatens local particularities to evaporate within a presumptively felt anonymity of globalization. In times of crisis, however, the meaning of individual may gradually change from a suspected individualism to real and true relationships amongst individuals. Travel and tourism key stakeholders will make joint efforts to reprioritize issues in terms of quality versus quantity, empathy versus egoism, tailor-made offers versus uniformed packages, personalized visitor management versus mass tourism, target groups that are desired versus everyone is welcome, cross-cooperation as well as cleanliness. And here I would like to focus on anti-littering initiatives and waste management. Then security and safety with a focus on secure and accountable policies, safe and healthy environments, and enhanced services worth the money, and a very much different idea of energy and mobility toward renewable energy and e-mobility. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm happy to have joined you and have also witnessed old friends of mine whom I had the honor and the pleasure to meet repeatedly at the ITB in Berlin.
Thank you very much,
If I
Max.
could just
Yes.
get a word in, Max, it's really important what you stated about the trash and the littering, dealing also with safety and security. We know very much that when we have a clean environment, meaning one where we worry about such issues as trash, all sorts of broken windows, etc., crime goes down and safety goes up. So you're right on the target in working on those two priorities. They're really important. Thank you for
very
saying
much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter and Max. I wanted to just briefly welcome Nancy Barkley. Nancy is running our interest group for destination weddings and honeymoons, and we had a wonderful session just last week about this. And I just wanted to just say hello. Maybe if you want to just take a minute to explain who you are and what we're doing within the destination wedding interest group. And Nancy, I think, is joining us from, is it Maryland? I'm not even.
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. Okay, oh, very close.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you because, like everybody stated, first of all, happy anniversary. And I just think this is such a wonderful organization. As Jürgen stated, my name is Nancy Barkley. I am based in Philadelphia. I am a certified destination wedding and honeymoon planner, and I've been dedicated to the hospitality industry for 25 years. You know, I do specialize in destination weddings. They're all international. So I empathize, I hear, I understand what everyone is saying on this platform. So many of us depend on tourism, myself included. And when I joined World Tourism Network in October, I was really, really inspired by what a lot of people were saying. And I know there were a lot of interest groups. So I thought, why not start one for destination wedding and honeymoon tourism? Destination weddings, so many components. You know, I'm looking at all your charts and the GDP, and I know a lot of people that have, you know, lost their business, a lot of people that are hurting. Just for a destination wedding, you know, there's the wedding planner, there's the airlines, the villa, the hotels, the photographers, the DMCs, the tour guides, the chauffeurs. I mean, one destination wedding can make up 25 different aspects of tourism. So we just launched our first Zoom on Saturday, and I think it went really, really well. As a matter of fact, I, right before this, just got off a conference call with a member, and we're going to start trying to collaborate to bring more tourism to her smaller Caribbean countries. So everyone's on here. I am on the World Tourism Network. I'm under honeymoons and destination weddings. So I really, truly hope you'll join our interest group and we can all start working together.
Thank you very much, Nancy. And before we open it up for some brief questions, I wanted to introduce a gentleman who I only know for one day, but it was quite inspiring to hear what he is doing, and maybe very briefly explain. He was introduced to me by Rudolf Hamran in Malaysia, who's running our Malaysia Forum. And those that attended our event a little earlier today or last night, depending where you are, we had a very good session in Asia, what included Indonesia, particularly with the Minister of Tourism from Indonesia joining us, but also Malaysia. And you're in Germany, but you're connected to Malaysia and this group. You're a global player, actually, in this industry. And you have an initiative. Just maybe 1 or 2 minutes, if you can explain who you are and what you do. Bijan, go ahead.
Sure. Thank you very much, Jürgen. And it's a great pleasure to be here as a new addition. I apologize for being the last person at the last minute. I feel already a lot of cohesion in the group, a lot of passion, which is no doubt manifestation of deep ties and relationships. So it's great to be part of this network. Yeah, I would love to just say just a few words. Hotel Resilient is a global initiative, as Jürgen just said. We started as an initiative in 2015. In fact, partnership between PATA, the United Nations Disaster Risk Reduction Office, and the German government Global Initiative for Disaster Risk Management. And the impetus of the work is that there were no consistent standards for disaster risk management and climate change for the hospitality sector. And the global assessment report that comes out every 2 years identified this as a key need. So we came in I was at the university here in Germany and put together a large consortium of university and private sector partners, and over a 2-year period built these global standards that are risk-based. And that's important because behind the standards are a lot of global modeling, what insurance typically uses, but hotels don't have access to. So we analyze and provide a risk footprint to hotels, and then based on that, as well as the climate impacts, provide guidelines and standards on how to reduce those risks and mitigate them. And so that led essentially to the founding also of Hotel Resilient as a certification body. And over the last year, in fact, since June, we've been using that framework that we have on disaster risk management and extending it to developing COVID standards as well. But they go beyond, I would say, the typical hygiene and distancing and all that is in there. But at the same time, we're looking at it from a more holistic disaster risk management framework. So looking at business continuity, crisis communication, defining clear roles and responsibilities that help with the pandemic, but can also be extended beyond the pandemic. And I think right now is a great opportunity for hotels. PATA found 60% of hotels don't have crisis management plans still. It's a great opportunity as they're forced to develop these protocols to also think beyond it. As Jeffrey put it so eloquently, that is the real crisis that we'll be facing. And it's a great time to think about that and put some thoughts and resources towards planning for it. So I'll stop it at that. I had some slides, but maybe that would be for next time, Jürgen, to share in more detail with you.
Yeah, and we can definitely do a session introducing what you're doing, and it fits in the overall concept very well. And thanks for joining us, being part of us. And I wanted to open just for a few questions, but before we do this real brief, I know he's joining us. It's very early in the morning. He was on our event last time. We call him Mr. The Happy Man. But he's joining us from Australia, and he's involved in happy tourism. He will tell you just maybe 1 minute, Paul, and then we can go to general question if this is okay. Welcome. You need to unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, thanks, Jürgen. And sorry, I'm very late joining. My alarm didn't go off. I've literally just woken up. This is then to announce that with Jürgen, in partnership with Jürgen, the World Tourism Network and the International Institute for Peace Through Tourism and Planet Happiness, on the 20th of March, which is 2 weeks today for me anyway in Australia, two weeks on Saturday, we're working together to celebrate the International Day of Happiness. It's the 10th anniversary this year of the UN resolution on happiness, recognizing the validity of gross national happiness, or happiness as a development agenda. And a year later, the UN recognized this International Day of Happiness. So we will be having a webinar to celebrate this event and look at the relationship between tourism and happiness. We will send out, I'm just looking, here we go. If I can just quickly share my screen for a moment. There are 5 purposes for this event, or 5 aims of this event. Firstly, to raise awareness of the significance and origins of the happiness and well-being agenda, to highlight linkages between, well, I should say that happiness, well-being, quality of life, we use these 3 words, 3 terms interchangeably. Happiness can be defined and measured. This was recognized at a UN meeting 10 years ago, as I say. So we'll be looking at linkages between happiness measurements, sustainability and destination planning, and the UN development goals. So the purpose is to inspire all tourism stakeholders to find ways to engage with the happiness agenda and use this for their destination branding and marketing advantages. We'll be sharing tools, resources and approaches illustrating how happiness can have a competitive advantages for the industry, and discussing opportunities for storytelling and digital innovation to support this. We have about 15 to 20 speakers, including the work from the World Economic Forum, Gloria from WTTC, Jeff Lippman, Talib. We'll have somebody from Vanuatu who've just put well-being at the focus of their tourism recovery strategy. Anna Pollock, we hope will join us, and many others. So we'll share details of this with you in the coming days. We'll have and there will be a press release going out on Monday to travel editors to put together stories in advance of the event. Sorry, that was a bit clumsy. As I say, I overslept. My apologies, everybody.
No, and I can testify you've been the last speaker at our event earlier, so you only had a little time in between, and thank you so much. I know it's very early in Australia where you are. And just before I give the final word to Dr. Peter Tarlow, our co-host here, I wanted to see if there's any more questions from anyone. Raise your hand, please. Any comments or anything you wanted to say. If there is, please raise your hand now. Okay, Cuthbert is raising physically his hand, but I meant actually you can click on the raising hand button, but Cuthbert, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Jürgen. I've been trying to see if I could raise my hand on the system, but it looks like there's quite a lot of complexity. Yeah, colleagues, I really believe that we have so much glorified the monster that has brought so much havoc in our spheres of life, so much that it has really overshadowed the brighter side of life. The Minister Vilakazi from Eswatini, I allude to his sentiments that the break that was created by the COVID-19 has afforded him to reset and explore and learn much within the domestic space. So I plead with all of us, let's start planning with confidence that we have yet crossed over. Yes, as Andrew has indicated that and emphasized the need for a precautionary measures. Yes, it must include the rollout of the mass vaccine if that is possible. But let us live today for tomorrow. We acknowledge and really appreciate Louis D'Amour for their plan of action. In Africa, we have seen a steady drop, especially on the infections and death. Hence, most member states are now easing the lockdown levels. So it's happening indeed, and let's all positively make it happen with a new norm, of course, of doing things. Let's accept the reality and start living our lives, making the best we can under these circumstances. Actually, this afternoon, I had the privilege of touring one of the biggest national parks that borders Namibia, Botswana, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. And we have seen an influx of tourists. So let us move and let us with confidence and look at the brighter side. of greater things, especially within our tourism sector. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. And I know, I hope she's not going to kill me, but I've got to recognize my friend Budi Astudi in Jakarta. In Jakarta, as far as I know, it's now 3:10 in the morning. And without Moody, we would have not had our last session with the new Minister of Tourism from Indonesia. And I know Moody for many years, as I said in the beginning. I've worked with her on representing Indonesia and the United States before eTurboNews was even started. And actually, eTurboNews was started because of Moody's initiative in giving a voice to travel agents that deal with international travel in the United States and get a more complete picture about travel to Indonesia. This was the very first idea behind eTurboNews, and we had a sponsor, what was eTurbo Hotels in Singapore, like kind of the first Expedia type company that helped us go through this. But Moody, just very briefly, thank you so much for staying up. This is the second session at 3 in the morning, and you can see she's still smiling. You have to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Thomas. I mean, what Jeffrey Lippman was saying about you is very true. I was so admired also with your persistence for almost like 30 years, 20 years we know, yeah? So yeah, we also very much appreciated that we get our minister to talk with this group, and hope that we can again having this kind of discussion. Thank you so much, Thomas, and thank you to everyone.
Terima kasih, and I didn't abandon my co-host here in Texas. He came a little bit late, so we're already in here. But equally important in this organization is Dr. Peter Tarlow, and as you all know, or most of you know, Peter is an expert for many years in safety, security, involved in many projects around the world, police training and so forth. It's been wonderful working with him also in launching and the World Tourism Network. And Peter, you have the last word, because I don't, and if there's any other question, feel free to raise your hand. Otherwise, we're going to come to a close after this. It's been 2 hours, and it's wonderful that many of you stayed from the very beginning. Go ahead.
Thank you, Jürgen. Yes, first, I apologize. I did come late. The reason is that I had a major meeting that somehow got co-scheduled dealing with the 2028 Olympics. And it may come as a surprise that we start working on security for an Olympics about 8 years early. So when the Olympics will hopefully take place in Japan, understand those Olympics have been preparing for them over the last 8 years. And I certainly hope they get to have them this year. It's tremendous amount of work. When Jürgen and I started this organization last year, we hoped that a few people would have come, but we never imagined that the number of people who would help us, who would join us, who would work with us would be literally around the world. There are well over 120 countries now that are participating. I think it's probably 126, 127
actually.
Yes, so I was close. And that's really amazing. I think the way to maybe see this is there's a very beautiful expression which says, the original expression is from the Midrashic literature, says, Zen ene v'zelo chaser. What it means is when a candle shares its light, it shares its fire from one candle to the other, the second gains, but the first does not lose. And that's very much the whole principle of tourism, that when we work with each other, when we show we care about each other, we don't lose. We continue to hold our own fire, but we help the world to become a better place with more light, more love, and more caring. And that's really the thematic behind the World Tourism Network, behind everyone who's here today. We've become a family. We've come to learn to work together, to care about each other, and we've learned to light each other's candles. And doing that, no darkness can destroy us. In the end, we will succeed, and we will make the world a better place. Thank you for all being with us today. Thank you.
No, thank you, Peter, and thank you everyone else who has been here now for a little bit more than 2 hours. I can tell you so far we had 29,460 people watching us live. And that number, of course, will grow. We're going to finish the archive here in a few hours and then put it up on eTurboNews. It's going to run back to back all weekend. So hopefully we get a lot more people interested in what we're doing in the World Tourism Network. And you find everything at WTN.travel. If you go to WTN.travel, you can join us actually as a member or as a complimentary observer. You can also see who's in the interest groups. There's a WhatsApp chat group. There's a LinkedIn group. And we're here to talk to you. And yes, we are a big family. Also, Peter's wife, who's always been in the background, and I see her, Sarah Tarlow. Welcome. And thanks for joining in. And everyone else, you have a nice evening, nice morning, nice night, and a nice weekend. And hopefully we see you again very soon. Upcoming events, we have your email address now, you're registered. We'll keep you informed. And last not least, again, thank you very much to the Honorable Minister from Eswatini who joined us, and Dr. Peter Tarlow, of course, and also Louis D'Amour, and everyone else. Aloha from Hawaii. Good night, good morning.
Good morning,
And we
good
see
night.
you next time.
Thank